Hi, it's Jo from Minerva. Today I have a fun little video which is 20 things to know before you sew. If you've got a friend who you want to try and get on board with sewing, so you've got a sewing buddy, then maybe you could share this video with them. Here are my top tips. Number 1, start small. Don't start with a bridesmaid's dress as your first topic. Just start with something small. Little bits stuck together, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it really doesn't matter. You've learned lots of things. Number 2 is to sew in stages. So I'm really lucky because sewing is my job, so I have the space to have my stuff out all the time. But if you don't, try and chop things down into stages. Cut out one day, put it away. Next day, do your shoulder seams, put the sides together and try it on. The next day, sew it together and try and chop the instructions up into small chunks. Promising yourself some me time and trying to do a garment from start to finish won't feel like me time. Number 3, you'll make loads of bad things before you make good things. That's how you learn. You can operate out of a shoebox. Some people think that to start a sewing hobby they need a whole spare room, and you don't. You need a sewing machine and a shoebox. And in my shoebox is a pair of scissors, a marking pencil, a little seam guide, a tape measure for measuring myself, a tin of pins, and the dreaded unpicker. But really, I've still got lots of room in there to put my project. You don't need a spare room, you need a shoebox. When you're starting out, buy fabrics that you can afford, and then if you make a mistake or you're learning along the way, you won't feel really cross and have spoilt a project or lost too much money on it. Think of it as betting. Only bet what you can afford. Number 6, build your skills over time. I know it's tempting when you look on the Minerva feed to see all these amazing projects passing by your eyes, but start small and work up, and after each project you will have gained a new skill. Use the guide on a pattern. This one says beginners. This is Tilly and the Button Stevie, so this is a great pattern for beginners to start a garment. Beginner 1 triangle. So try and use the pattern's guidelines to help you, but the best way to find out is to read underneath each feed picture, and there'll be some details from Minerva makers telling you how difficult or easy it is and where the tricky parts are. Don't start with a big frilly flouncy dress or your first pair of jeans as one of your first projects. Have it in your mind to do when you've gained some skills. On the days when things aren't going so well and you've had enough of your unpicker, sometimes it's best to just walk away and come back another day. When you're working with fabric, you need to understand the grain line, and it's the very first basics part of sewing, and sometimes we skip it. We just get some material and cut out our fabric. But if you can understand grain line, it will really help you to get the most out of your fabric. Check out our Learn to Sew videos and you will find one on grain line. Don't skip marking all the notches on your pattern. So use a pencil. You can do little snips in the seam. The notches help you to line up different pieces. So they're often indicated with a little triangle or a little slit in the seam. Mark them even if you don't understand what they are, because you'll be looking for them once you follow through the instructions. Here's a little tip that people often skip out of their sewing process, which is to pre-wash their fabric. If you pre-wash it and you tumble dry it, because that's what you're going to do with your garment every week, then your garment will have much longer life because it will be the right size. So I pre-washed and tumble dried this fabric because I knew that that's how I'd be treating it every week or every time that I wore it. Different fabrics shrink at different rates. So if you've got a viscose or a rayon, that will definitely shrink. Cotton will definitely shrink. You want to make sure that if you're using a stretch fabric, that it won't get damaged in the tumble dryer. Number 11 is to learn to sew stretchy fabrics. It's not the same as woven fabrics, but you open up a whole new world of patterns and opportunities if you can learn to sew stretchy fabrics. Number 12 is, if you're going to use stretchy fabrics, learn how to find out the stretch recovery of your fabric so you're choosing the right one for the right pattern, and also find the direction of greatest stretch. So which way does the fabric stretch the most, and use that to your advantage. Number 13 is add to your tools over time. So you might have started with a shoebox and you would like to add to your tools, but you don't have to get all of the tools in one go, because as you make each project, you'll find out what you'd really need to add. My latest tool is a hot hammer, and that's my latest tool that I find really useful for pressing up hems and pressing curves. Number 14 is to press as you go. So when you first, on a lot of patterns, you will start with the shoulder seam, press that out, because that will make your sleeve head fit in better. It will make your facing fit in better. If you think you're just going to press it all at the end, then you've missed the opportunity to get your garment really well constructed. Number 15 is don't be frightened to have a go. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You can have a little cry and you can get cross, but there's always another project around the corner to learn from. Use the information on our website about each fabric. Don't just choose a fabric because you love the colour and the pattern. You need to read the description details. There you'll see the pattern width, you'll see the weight of it, you'll see if it's got stretch and in which direction, and all those things will help you to decide if that fabric is the right fabric for your project, rather than just ooh, I like that colour. Number 17 is really based on your personality, but I would really recommend that you complete one project from start to finish. If you have lots of projects on the go, all of those useful things that you're learning along the way, you'll forget them when you go back to them. So you'll think you'll remember where you left off, and then it will take you quite a long time to get back to the place where you were before. So start a project, work your way through it, even if you chop it into small chunks, and get to the end. Number 18 is to say thank you when someone compliments you about your item of clothing. You can say that you made it, but please don't point out, oh, and there's a little bit here, and I wish I'd done a little bit here. Just say thank you. Number 19 is to build your resilience by trying new things. So if you keep making the same thing over and over and over again, you'll get lots of enjoyment from it and you'll get lots of garments. But if you want to move up and eventually get to something like a pair of jeans or a dress with a different hem, you'll need to keep testing your resilience to get to the next stage. It's number 20, and you know what I'm going to say. It should be fun. Enjoy the creative time that you have to yourself and have fun. I hope you found that fun and useful, and do pass it on to someone who you'd like to get sewing.